She was a Jamaican attorney at law who was highly respected and was an expert in the legal profession. On Thursday, April 13, 2000, this respected attorney was mercilessly attacked inside her office and painfully died minutes later. It was a murder that somewhat stained the image of Jamaica. Requested by one of my subscribers, this is the story of the murder of Shirley Playfair. Welcome to Jamaican Chapter. I am Nigel D Salmon. Shirley Playfair was born Shirley Eugenie Taylor on Sunday, February 4, 1940, in Mandeville, Manchester, to father Vincent Taylor and his wife Violet Taylor. Shirley was their second child. She attended Knox College, a high school in Spaldings in the parish of Clarendon. After she graduated from Knox College, Shirley Taylor took a job as a temporary clerk in the court's office at Brownstown, St. Anne. After a year working in the collectorate office in Brownstown, she made up her mind to study law, to become an attorney. In the year 1961, she went to London, England to study law at Lincoln's Inn. She spent 3 years in London from 1961 to 1964. During the first year of this period, she met and was attracted to another Jamaican law student at Lincoln's College. That law student was in his final year of study, and his name is Leland Playfair. Shirley was romantically attracted to him. But the year she came to London to study was the year Leland Playfair graduated and returned to Jamaica. In June of 1964, the young Shirley Taylor was called to the British bar. After she graduated from Lincoln's College in London, she returned to Jamaica at the end of 1964 and was shortly after admitted to the Jamaican bar, meaning she met the requirements to practice law in Jamaica. Back in Jamaica, she took up an appointment as deputy clerk in the Port Maria Court's office. She soon met Leland Playfair again, and this time mutually fell in love. Both of them got married in Kingston in the year 1965. The couple later moved to Red Hills in the parish of St. Andrew, where they raised their two daughters, Lisa Marie and Lorianne Marie. In 1969, Shirley Playfair was appointed acting resident magistrate for the parishes of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Mary, and the Juvenile Court. She served in this position for 6 months. Shirley Playfair was employed to the government of Jamaica in a variety of capacities. From 1971 to 1981, she served in the post of Crown Counsel, Assistant Attorney General, and Senior Assistant Attorney General, specializing in civil litigation and commercial and constitution law. During the same period, 1971 to 1981, she also served as Director of the Constitutional Reform Division of the Ministry of Justice. Plus, she has served as a Justice of the Peace for the parish of St. Andrew. She partnered with fellow legal experts John Jr. and Anthony Pearson and formed the legal firm called Playfair Jr. Pearson and Company. Shirley was a senior partner in the firm, specializing in conveyancing, commercial law, and all aspects of civil law. On March 1, 1990, she became the chairman of the Real Estate Board. She held this position until the year 1993. Shirley Playfair became the first chairperson of the Fair Trading Commission in 1993, the same year the commission was established. She held other important positions too. An upper-class citizen, Shirley Playfair was sociable, respectable, well-organized, and hardworking. And that's what she was doing on Thursday, April 13, 2000, the unforeseen last day of her life. She was working in her law office on the second floor at 2C Seymour Park, Kingston 6. There was nothing yet unusual about that Thursday. The weather was fair, the surrounding areas quiet, and it was business as normally expected. 60-year-old Shirley Playfair was sitting in the chair at her desk in her office with one hand sorting through some legal documents while the other hand held the office telephone to her ear. On the other end of the telephone conversation was attorney Peter Millinen. He and Shirley were discussing details about a land transaction matter. It was almost midday. A 1976 blue Datsun 120Y sedan motor car with 3 men inside drove up to the gate of the premises. At the gate was the security guard, Timothy Campbell. Campbell immediately noticed the Datsun 120Y motor car and the men inside. The men previously came to the premises in the morning at about 8:30 a.m. On that previous visit, one of them went to the upstairs office of Shirley Playfair and left after being told the attorney would not be there until after 11 a.m. Now they are back after 11:30 a.m. and Shirley Playfair was definitely inside her office. The 3 men inside the motor car were 48-year-old Astley Ricketts, taxi driver and owner of the car, 19-year-old Ramon Drysdale, also called Fudgy, and 26-year-old Dwayne Williams, also called Amin. After the car parked on the premises, 26-year-old Dwayne and 19-year-old Ramon got out and began heading to the office of their intended victim, each of them carrying a concealed ratchet knife. Completely unaware of the coming danger, Shirley Playfair was still talking with attorney Peter Mellinen over the phone. It must be noted at this point, based on witness testimony, that someone from inside Shirley Playfair's office was part of the murder plot. That someone was Shirley Playfair's own secretary, 40-year-old Annette Livingston. Shirley Playfair's own trusted secretary, Annette Livingston, was later proven to be in on the murder plot. When the two hoodlums, Dwayne and Ramon, made it to the reception area, Annette Livingston wasted no time before sending them into Shirley Playfair's office, and in they went. Shirley Playfair looked up from the documents on her desk to see two young men inside her office. They pulled out their ratchet knives and began closing in on her. Attorney Peter Mellinen was still on the other end of the active phone line, and he heard Shirley Playfair said, "What is now?" Then Peter Mellinen heard sounds of struggling, and the final time he heard Shirley Playfair's voice was when she hopelessly said, "Me dead now." Fearing the worst, Peter Mellinen quickly called the police. Shirley Playfair screamed. Her screams drew the attention of her employees, but not the attention of Annette Livingston, who had already known what was to happen. The two attackers stabbed Shirley Playfair repeatedly before leaving the office. Shirley Playfair, badly bleeding but still hanging on to life, staggered from her office and made her way to a nearby doctor's office, the office of Dr. Clyde Thomas. Dr. Clyde Thomas rushed to Shirley's aid, doing whatever he necessarily could. At this time, Shirley had lost significant amount of blood from the deep knife wounds to her neck. Her hands stained with her own blood and her blouse soaked with her own blood. She soon lost consciousness in Dr. Clyde Thomas' office. Shirley Playfair was rushed to the University Hospital of the West Indies, but on arrival, it was too late. The 60-year-old attorney had already drew her last breath. All a doctor at the hospital could do was to pronounce her dead. The murder of Shirley Playfair triggered a wave of shock. A number of individuals began turning up on the premises at Seymour Park, including K.D. Knight, Minister of Security and Justice at the time. A couple hours after the murder, the House of Parliament paused from normal procedure to pay tribute to Shirley Playfair. Just minutes after the crime, The blue Datsun 120Y sedan car with the three men inside was stopped by some police officers as it turned on Metcalf Road from Maxfield Avenue, Kingston. The officers ordered the men to step from the car. Ramon Drysdale immediately jumped from the stopped car and began running. One of the officers fired a shot in the air and Ramon stopped. The officers searched the three men and the car, gathering things which later were essential for conviction. From Dwayne Williams, the officers took the ratchet knife and a yellow cap stained with blood. The officers also took from him his plaid shirt, which had Shirley Playfair's blood on it. From Ramon Drysdale, the officers took a ratchet knife stained with blood. The officers also took his shirt. The three men and the car were taken to Hunts Bay Police Station and were later taken to Halfway Tree Police Station at 142 Maxfield Avenue, Kingston. Later examination of the blue Datsun 120Y sedan car found human blood on the outside of the right back door, the right side of the roof, and at the left side of the dashboard. Since the crime did not happen in the car, the blood got there through touching. The hands of Dwayne and Ramon were swabbed, and human blood, Shirley Playfair's blood, was found on the swabs. However, the blood was not sufficient to do a DNA test. The blood found in the car was also insufficient for DNA test. On Friday, April 14, 2000, a day after the murder, a post-mortem examination was done on Shirley Playfair's body. The post-mortem examination was performed by Dr. Kadiola Prasad, and the results showed that Shirley Playfair received a total of 9 wounds. She received defensive stab wounds to the knuckle of her right index finger, lower half of her right forearm, 2 stabs to the left side of her face, cutting through her cheek, while the remaining wounds were on the front and left side of her neck. The worst wound being an 11 centimeter deep stab and cut on the neck, which severed her larynx, her voice box, Adam's apple, and the muscles and blood vessels on the left side of her neck. The official cause of death was death due to sharp force injury to the neck, resulting in loss of blood. On Saturday, April 15, 2000, suspects in the murder of Shirley Playfair were pointed out in a police identification parade. They were pointed out by employees of Shirley Playfair who saw and could identify them. These employees, who were employed in the positions of legal secretary, paralegal secretary, and so on, served as prosecution witnesses at the murder trial. Their testimonies helped expose Annette Livingston, who was employed as legal secretary, as part of the murder plot. So, what were the things that exposed Annette Livingston as part of the murder plot? Several things. One, days before the murder, in fact, on more than one occasion, other employees of Shirley Playfair saw Dwayne Williams came to the premises at Seymour Park and had private conversation with Annette Livingston. But after the murder, Annette Livingston claimed she never knew Dwayne Williams. 2. On the day of the murder, April 13, 2000, the two men, Dwayne and Ramon, came into the building and went straight to the desk of Annette Livingston and had a whispering conversation before entering the office of Shirley Playfair to kill her. 3. While being stabbed, Shirley Playfair screamed. Verna Richards, a certified paralegal secretary employed to Shirley Playfair, tried to get into the office to see what the screams were about. But Annette Livingston stood firmly at the door, held the doorknob, and blocked her from seeing what was happening. Verna Richards had to force her way past Annette Livingston into the office. When Verna Richards got into the office, she saw Dwayne Williams wringing his ratchet knife in the side of Shirley Playfair's neck. Frightened by this, Verna ran from the office. Dwayne Williams chased her and grabbed the right side of her neck, but Verna Richards managed to escape and locked herself in another office. Then she dialed 119. 4. Ashley Ricketts, the driver of the getaway car after the murder, gave a cautioned statement to the police after he was arrested, in which he implicated Annette Livingston as part of the murder plot. In the caution statement, Ashley Ricketts said while driving to Shirley Playfair's office, he overheard Dwayne said, and I quote, "A big man give with the works, and we have to get a big money off it." Ashley Ricketts further said in his caution statement that Ramon asked Dwayne for the name of the woman that they must check when they reach Seymour Park. And Dwayne answered, saying that the woman is CR. CR was Annette Livingston. With this much information stacked against her, Annette Livingston was arrested. The total number of persons arrested for the murder of attorney Shirley Playfair were Ashley Ricketts, a 48-year-old taxi driver of 44A Maxfield Avenue, Kingston 13, Ramon Drysdale, 19-year-old slippers vendor of 1 Metcalf Road, Kingston 13, Dwayne Williams, 26-year-old laborer of Bentley Lane, Kingston 13, and Annette Livingston, 40-year-old legal secretary from Buff Bay, Portland. On Monday, April 22, 2002, Dwayne Williams escaped from police custody while at the Home Circuit Court in Kingston awaiting trial. In hiding, he was never recaptured and he never faced trial. This meant that only 3 of the accused faced trial for the murder of Shirley Playfair. When the trial came to an end on April 10, 2003, all 3 accused were found guilty of non-capital murder. The female judge, Justice K. Beckford, handed down life sentences on all 3. Annette Livingston was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 60 years. Ashley Ricketts was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility for parole after serving 45 years. Ramon Drysdale was sentenced to life in prison with possibility for parole after serving 55 years. On Thursday, May 8, 2003, almost a month after the end of Shirley Playfair's murder trial, Dwayne Williams was shot dead by a gunman. Remember, he had escaped from police custody while at the Home Circuit Court awaiting trial, so he was never tried and sentenced for the murder of Shirley Playfair. But his criminal lifestyle caught up with him. At about 12:15 p.m. on May 8, 2003, he was at a house on Rodney Road in Kingston with a woman when a lone gunman entered the premises and shot him. The 29-year-old Dwayne Williams died at the scene. The life sentences handed down at the end of the murder trial were appealed. Following appeals to the Court of Appeal, Ashley Ricketts' conviction for non-capital murder was overturned and the sentence of life imprisonment was set aside. A conviction of manslaughter was given instead with a sentence of 20 years. Ramon Drysdale's conviction for non-capital murder was upheld by the Court of Appeal, but the time he will have to spend in prison before becoming eligible for parole was reduced from 55 years to 35 years. Annette Livingston's conviction for non-capital murder was upheld by the Court of Appeal, but the 60 years to be spent in prison before being eligible for parole was reduced from the 60 years to 35 years. However, Annette Livingston was not pleased with the decision of the Court of Appeal. Her lawyers then took her appeal to the Privy Council. The Privy Council sits in London and is the final court of appeal for the British West Indies. The appeal to the Privy Council was successful and resulted in Annette Livingston's release from prison on December 24, 2012. The funeral for the late Shirley Playfair was held on Tuesday, April 25, 2000 at the University Chapel, University of the West Indies, Mona, Kingston. Many turned up to pay their last respect. After the funeral, Shirley Playfair's body was buried in the St. Anne's Bay Cemetery in the parish of St. Anne. Thanks for watching.